Will not have a home playoff game. If Seattle beats San Francisco Saturday to claim the number 1 seed, the Rams will be the 5th seed and will play a wildcard game at Carolina or Tampa Bay, whoever wins the NFC South. If San Francisco beats Seattle, the Rams fall to the number 6 seed, which will send them to Chicago or Philadelphia. Either scenario does not look good for the Rams. They need to put together a strong performance Sunday against Arizona in their final regular season game to tune up for the playoffs. It's going to be a bumpy ride in the postseason. Happy birthday to Tiger Woods. The 15-time major champion turned 50 today. Tiger is eligible for the PGA Senior Tour if he chooses to go that route. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your flag.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 80. This is our last show of the year that's live on KBLA Talk 1580. We look forward to speaking with everyone and being with everyone in the new year. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and this has been the first anniversary of our show, and I am particularly honored and privileged that our executive producer and creator, Gina Towns, convinced me some time ago that we were made for radio, and here we are. So grateful for that, and grateful for all of those of you who are listening and have been supportive of our efforts here on KBLA to be true to the mission of the station, to be true to the mission and the integrity of our people and our movement. I'm very honored that in this first hour, none other than Liz King is our very special guest on the show. Liz is a regular contributor of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and recently served as Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she held from 2015 until 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, economic rights. Throughout her tenure at the Leadership Conference, King coordinated the coalition's work to advance equal opportunity in education and represented the civil and human rights community's positions and perspectives on education policy topics in the media, in testimony before the U.S. Department of Education, and during the course of legislative negotiations. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much. Always great to be here with you, Congressman.
Liz, I am very excited about our conversation and the initial discussion that we had about our show today, and that is next year, the nation will turn its attentions to the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And in turning to the Declaration of Independence, the entire nation will spend an entire year reflecting over the period that we've come from the inception of the nation to the present, and where we are now in the present. And I can't think of a better person to engage this conversation with over the next hour. We're going to jumpstart it in 2025, knowing full well that 2026 is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and we're all going to be reflecting upon some of the precepts and the tenets of that declaration, and obviously some of its shortcomings and the unfinished business of the American Revolution. Liz, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a brutal year, and I think it is an opportunity for us to remind each other, to remind ourselves that the United States has always been an unfinished work. And so as we start thinking about memorializing the founding around 1776 and what it means 250 years later, it's an opportunity for us to keep in mind that, you know, you alluded to just the imperfection, the flaws at the beginning, and the work of the United States in moving towards greater equality, greater opportunity, greater liberty for all of the people who live here. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us to think about, you know, what does the 4th of July mean? What does the Declaration of Independence mean? What does the hypocrisy inherent in that rhetoric mean to us today? And what does it tell us about what the future can mean if we build a more perfect union? And so, you know, I am hopeful that next year will be better than this year, because this has been a very challenging year for almost everyone in almost every corner of this country.
Brutal is the word that you use, and I think that's absolutely right. Brutal. This has been one of the most brutal years in recent American history, and only with hindsight will we be able to look back upon this year and this period to determine the nature of the cruelty and the brutality that America has become at this hour in our founding. I want to set the stage, however, for our conversation, which will be coming forward in about 3 minutes, right after the break. And in part of setting that stage, I want to help our listeners understand that we are making in this conversation, and we will go back and forth between the two documents. We are talking about the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, an aspirational document. There'll be times when we move to the idea of the Constitution of the United States. That would be September 17th, 1787. Next year, we are commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. We do not live under the Declaration of Independence. The Supreme Court rules and makes its decisions. The elections in the United States, our laws are passed under the Constitution. And Liz, there's a lot to be said about some of the precepts in the Declaration of Independence, etched and forever in the memory of not only the American people, but in world prose. The magnificent words that Dr. King referred to when referring to Thomas Jefferson, that all men are created equal. Elizabeth Cady Stanton offered a friendly amendment to that by saying all men and women are created equal. And yet in the throes of that hypocrisy, Native Americans were being slaughtered in a genocide that included Manifest Destiny. African Americans, or Africans, if you will, from 1619 until the end of the slave trade, as Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X acknowledged, were here before Jefferson was even born. 1619, Jefferson was not born in Jamestown in 1619. We were here. The Native Americans were here before Columbus, before the Pilgrims. We were here. And so from a very unique perspective, the history of African Americans and the history of Native Americans, and yes, the history of women, we get to see the formation of the government of the United States from its lofty ideals in September of July of 1776 to what the Constitution ultimately became, calling us 3/5 of a human, referring to us as property rights and property interests, leaving women completely out of the equation, and the division of the government itself with the addition of the Bill of Rights in 1791 that states those rights not written in the Constitution would be forever in the purview of the states, and hence so much is protected in discrimination by states' rights. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. For the next hour, our very special guest is none other than our regular contributor, Liz King, and I'm going to have a countdown for her when we come forward. because she's capable of taking us to a place we've never been before. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code STATE.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our last show that's live of the year in 2025, and Liz King is our very special guest in this hour. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much. Excited for the conversation.
I have to figure out from our executive producer what the Liz King hour is going to be called. I don't know if it's lighting it up or lighting it up with Liz King. Oh, lighting it up with Liz King. All right, well, that's what it's going to be because she says that's what it's going to be. And I appreciate that. I want to just paint a picture in all of 2 minutes of our longest segment, which is 18, of the house that we built as Americans, the house that we built. And I think if we frame the house correctly, we have a better understanding of the conversation that Liz and I are going to engage in. Let's first, before we build the house, we have to have a pre-construction period. We got to assemble all of the stuff we can assemble, the wood, the nails, the timber, the roofing, the sink, the bathrooms. Let's call that pre-construction, 1619 to 1776. There is a pre-construction period. And then in 1776, with the Declaration of Independence through 1861, let's call that the construction period. That's the period that includes the Declaration of Independence, the writing of the Constitution in 1787, the writing of the Bill of Rights in 1791. It includes the process of adding one free state to the Union and one slave state to the Union. Each of those states have 2 United States senators, by the way. And the process that included the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the Missouri Compromise and Manifest Destiny and the westward expansion of the United States. Let's call that the construction of the United States. And then our house burned down from 1861 to 1865. Let's call that the deconstruction of the project. It fell apart. It was built on a shaky foundation. And then there is the first reconstruction of the United States between 1865, after the American Civil War, to 1896. Let's just call that first reconstruction. And then there's Jim Crow until Brown versus the Board of Education from 1896 to 1954. And then there is second reconstruction, 1954 to the present. And one could largely argue that the Donald Trump Project 2025 and the Donald Trump Project is a deconstruction of the house that we've all built. And there is an effort to rebuild everything from the east wing of the White House to putting his name on the Kennedy Center to building an Arc de Triomphe in Washington, D.C., to naming everything after himself. Let's just call this a new construction project that many of us are not familiar with. With that said, back to 1776, all men are created equal, a lofty ideal and a lofty goal, but it left out a lot of people, Liz King.
No, absolutely. I think, there's just so much to be said here. I think for me, so much of all this comes back to this amazing piece that Michelle Alexander wrote at the beginning of the first Trump presidency. And I forget the title. It was in the New York Times, and it was something like, we are not the resistance, they are. And it was a reminder that the story of America is a story of progress. It is a story of the expansion of rights. And it is true that every time there has been an expansion of rights, and every time there has been an effort to include under the democracy umbrella more of our neighbors, there has been a resistance. And you talk at every point, right? We had that first Reconstruction. We saw a rejection of that, and in the Jim Crow, and then we saw Brown v. Board of Ed, and we saw interposition and nullification, Southern Manifesto. And what we are, they tried in Reagan. They tried to undo the work of the Second Reconstruction. They tried to undo the work of the Civil Rights Movement. And they were successful to a large degree in making people poorer. And I think this is a reminder that you have always shared with us, Congressman, which is about the relationship between civil rights and legal rights and economic opportunity. And that every time there has been a retrenchment, there has been an abandoning of civil rights, there has been an undermining of civil rights, it has always come with it an effort to enrich the rich and to make the poorer poorer and to make the middle class more poor, to take away economic opportunity. And I think that is exactly what we're seeing right now. We're seeing an effort to narrow the scope of who is part of our American democracy, to narrow the scope of who has legal rights that deserve to be protected, while also making it harder for people to pay bills, making it harder for people to pay the rent, making it harder for people to get the groceries, making it harder for people to get access to healthcare. And it is these patterns that we see over and over again. But I want to come back to another thing that you said that I think was so important, which is this is the 250th anniversary, not of the laws that govern us, but of the idea of who we are, right? The Declaration of Independence has no legal weight other than its tremendous power to define who we think we are as a country. And so I think that is so much of what we're seeing here is not just a question of the law and what the law means, but a question of the story and what the story means and what the story tells us. And, you had talked about sort of where President Lincoln comes in. Obviously, we know the story of Frederick Douglass and what he had to say about the nation's founding. And then we think about the I Have a Dream speech, which was very much King's simultaneous invocation of that story and critique of the incompleteness of that story, right? He famously talks about the promissory note being marked insufficient funds and a rejection of the idea that there is a limit to the liberty available to us. And I think there's just so much here. It's really going to take all of us in this next year to write a new story about who we will be as a people moving forward.
You know, I want to share with you, Liz, that when I think about July 4th, 1776, there isn't a single American, except for maybe Donald Trump and Mr. Miller and some others in the MAGA crowd, that can remember July 4th, 1776. We romanticize what it was and what it meant. And as important a date as it was in reflecting upon the idea of independence, breaking away from the king and the kingdom, if you will, every July 4th, from July 4th, 1776 to the present, is a different day. It is a different opportunity to define the meaning of America. On July 4th, 1776, African Americans did not have citizenship rights. They do have them today, in some measure. Native Americans had no citizenship rights on July 4th, 1776, but they do, in some measure, have them today. Women had no citizenship rights on July 4th, 1776, whether they were white women, black women, red women, brown women. They did not have citizenship rights. But they have some semblance of those citizenship rights today. And the most amazing thing about July 4th, and I could go all the way from Frederick Douglass's oration in New York about the hypocrisy of July 4th, right up to Martin Luther King Jr.'s critique in 1963 on August 28th in front of the Lincoln Memorial, a reflection again on the Declaration of Independence. I have found, Liz, the most significant July 4th that intellectually is so difficult for the American people to comprehend is Gettysburg. And I say Gettysburg because more than 50,000, maybe as many as 60,000 Americans lost their lives on that field. And the battle, yes, between North and South, yes, between the Confederate States who wanted to preserve the institution of slavery and the idea of freedom for the Northern states, and African Americans, while they may have been U.S. colored troops at that time, they were not allowed to fight at Gettysburg. That was to be a white man's conflict on that field. But it would be Lincoln, with the dead still unburied, who returns to Gettysburg in November of that year to deliver the Gettysburg Address. You could smell the Gettysburg dead on the entire East Coast. They were decomposing. They had not been buried yet. Nearly 50,000 people in a field. I bring that to our attention because it's almost impossible to imagine when he delivers the Gettysburg Address for us to even think about July 4th, 1776, or any July 4ths, I think 87 of them that came before Gettysburg, maybe 86, what those July 4ths were like. Because every July 4th after Gettysburg is what Lincoln says July 4th is, not what Jefferson and what the architects of the original republic said it was. Every July 4th after Gettysburg, who we would become, who we were trying to become, it took on a new definition. So July 4th, 1963 is a month before Martin Luther King Jr. offers his interpretation of what it means to be an American. There's another July 4th in 2008 when Barack Obama was about to become president of the United States. There's another July 4th when he's obviously elected to a second term. Another definition. There is a July 4th when Kamala Harris is the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, and yet another iteration of the holiday, none of which was imaginable on July 4th, 1776. These dates do matter, Liz.
Absolutely. I think that charting and thinking about our American history through these landmarks of these July 4ths, thinking about the relationship between the battle at Gettysburg, the Gettysburg Address, and then the 14th Amendment, right? Which is in so many ways, the 14th Amendment is what the actual promise that was theoretically offered in the Declaration of Independence. And so how do we think about moving forward the way that we tell this story? You know, even just thinking about your point about the role of Native people and the fact that Native people who predated all of this were not eligible for citizenship, were not included, were certainly referred to in egregious terms in the Declaration of Independence. But we think about the role of the Iroquois Confederacy in actually creating the democracy that the United States eventually became and is still working to become. We tell a story that is about the Greek roots of American democracy, about English common law, and then we hide the fact and the role of the Iroquois Confederacy and of Native people in creating the foundations for how a democracy would operate. Just in the same way that we think about the construction of the Capitol building, losing sight of the fact that so many of the people who actually physically constructed the Capitol building that was violated on January 6th, we're about to enter into another anniversary, another milestone, which is the anniversary of the January 6th insurrection, an attack on American democracy, that building was built by people who were enslaved, and that at the top of that building was a statue called Freedom. And so how do we reconcile all of this hypocrisy? And I think it is exactly your point. It was what Lincoln called us to do at the Gettysburg Address. It was about moving forward. It is, what is July 6th, 2026 going to mean? What is that July 4th preceding a new election going to mean? What is that July 4th going to mean with respect to our laws and our Constitution and our Congress? And so as we're thinking about 2026, as we're thinking about the year ahead, obviously the New Year's is always a time of looking back and looking forward. I think you have asked a really important question, is what will this next July 4th look like? How will we remember it? How will we mark it? And how will we note the history, the past, the future, and the present?
It's so fascinating because you brought to mind this fascinating tidbit of history that maybe we don't see it that way, but slaves played a significant role in building the capital of the United States, from the ground and from the floor up, all the way up to Liberty. But then when you reflect that on January 6th, the very people who've enjoyed citizenship rights and their ancestors over a longer period of time than those of us who built the Capitol from the ground and the floor up, one group came to destroy it, another group is responsible for building it and trying its best to make the system work. I can't think of a greater irony when we reflect upon the significance of the evolution of our nation, not only what we were, what we are, who we are, what we are becoming. It's all a factor when we work our way up to the system and the deconstruction project of MAGA and Donald John Trump. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Liz King as she lights it up on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The New York Police Department is preparing a major security presence in Times Square for New Year's Eve as more than 1 million people are expected to ring in 2026.
People come here to bring in the new year, and it is our job to make sure they're able to do that in a level of safety. Black Mayor Eric Adams says there are no credible threats, but the department remains on high alert with new secondary screenings inside viewing areas. Black Florida Congresswoman Sheila Sherfulis McCormick is awaiting arraignment on federal charges accusing her of stealing $5 million in FEMA funds. A judge delayed the case until January 20th to allow her the time to secure legal counsel. And Black country star Darius Rucker surprised travelers with an impromptu performance at Nashville International Airport. A fan video shows the Wagon Wheel singer performing for a small crowd near a Christmas tree. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Anaheim Hills on the 91 westbound before you get to Imperial Highway, they had a crash blocking the two left lanes. They just did a break and got everything over to the right shoulder. Still a little bit of slowing, I'd say, from at least Ware Canyon. Now past that, right at Lakeview, they did get that stall cleared from the lanes as well. In Industry, 60 eastbound right at 7th Avenue, we've got a crash involving a big rig trying to make its way to the shoulder there.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Back-to-back losses have put the Rams in a tough position for the NFC playoffs. The Rams failed to land the number one seed in the NFC and will not have a home playoff game. If Seattle beats San Francisco Saturday to claim the number one seed, the Rams will be the fifth seed and will play a wildcard game at Carolina or Tampa Bay, whoever wins the NFC South. If San Francisco beats Seattle, the Rams fall to the number 6 seed, which will send them to Chicago or Philadelphia. Either scenario does not look good for the Rams. They need to put together a strong performance Sunday against Arizona in their final regular season game to tune up for the playoffs. It's going to be a bumpy ride in the postseason. Happy birthday to Tiger Woods. The 15-time major champion turned 50 today. Tiger is eligible for the PGA Senior Tour if he chooses to go that route. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Liz King. Liz, I don't know what my future holds, and I don't even know if I'm going to ever make it to Capitol Hill. I'm going to do everything that I can, but let me tell you this. If I go back to Capitol Hill, I sure hope you go with me. Prior to joining the leadership conference, Ms. King served as Senior Policy Associate for the Education at the Children Defense Fund, where she focused on school discipline reform, school funding equity. King's policy advocacy and career began as legislative director for Congressman Shaka Fattah, one of my good friends, where she advised and represented the congressman on education, healthcare, women, children, and family policies. Liz, welcome forward to our show.
Thank you so much. You're very generous. You're very generous.
So grateful you're here, Liz. Liz, can I go back to this project for a minute? Because when we look at the scope of the project that we find ourselves in, I see a Democratic Party founded by Jefferson in 1791, 92, 93, somewhere in there. And it's a red party, a states' rights party, a local control party. And that party over time, that deeply red kind of pre-MAGA party, eventually becomes the party of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, a deeply blue party. And then I see this deeply blue party in 1854, the Republican Party, wanting to stop the expansion of slavery in the Western states. And they nominated the candidate whose position, after the Lincoln-Douglas debates, came as close to it as possible, Abraham Lincoln, a deeply blue party that sought to save the Union, save the country, stop the expansion of slavery into the Western states. And over time, that blue party becomes a very, very red party of Jim Jordan, Marco Rubio, Donald John Trump, Elon Musk, the billionaire class, a deeply red party, essentially dismantling the federal government as we know it and returning power to the states. In a real sense, returning power to the very states' rights philosophy that Jefferson believed at the inception of the Democratic Party, even though we've moved on from that. And so it's easy to be confused if you don't see the history of women in that lineage, or the history of African Americans in that lineage, or the history of Native Americans in that lineage. If you just got off the boat at Ellis Island yesterday, or you came across the border, however you came across the border, northern or southern border, you're not going to understand the construction of this project unless you take a deep dive into the history, Liz, that you know all too well.
No, I think that we are being reminded so much of the importance of knowing our history. And when we're confronting this MAGA movement right now that is about regression, it's about backwards movement, and it is about sort of embracing in many ways, a version of history that never really did exist, but aspiring to a time in which democracy was not available, voting rights were not available, economic justice was not available. And this perspective, I mean, in so many ways, just getting back to the personal history, we think about Stephen Miller, we think about what the ways in which Stephen Miller's own ancestors would have been excluded, even Donald Trump, we think about the disenfranchisement of people of Scottish descent. I mean, it really is just nonsense. And one of the things that is incumbent upon us is to truly know and understand the facts of the history. Because even this backwards movement is about romanticizing a history that no one should be glorifying, but that didn't even exist at the time. And so I think you're right. This knowing the history, understanding the history is such an important part of that. And one piece of this history that is undertold is how contested even the worst ideas were at the time. And you talked about how, even around the Declaration of Independence and that time leading up to the Constitution, there were many people advocating for full abolition of slavery who recognized that the United States would never be a democracy as long as slavery was allowed to continue. That conflict existed at the time, and obviously being driven by people of African descent, whether they were Africans or Americans, depending on what side of 1776 we're talking about. But there were people fighting for the 14th Amendment even before the Constitution was first created, and being reminded that there have always been those who have advocated for full democracy and inclusion. But absolutely, we need to tell this history. We need to know this history. Your point about Gettysburg, the Gettysburg Address, I think that is not, too often that is not how we tell the story. Too often we lose sight of the birth moment that was the Gettysburg Address and the role of Lincoln in shaping who we became, and thinking about how Donald Trump is seeking to undo that which Lincoln did, I think is something the American people need to understand, that he is trying to take away Lincoln. He is trying to undo Lincoln. He is trying to erase Lincoln from American history, and that cannot be allowed to happen.
You know, Liz, you're making me go back to the campaign last season. I was campaigning in Philadelphia, in Gettysburg. I insisted that the Kamala Harris campaign go to Gettysburg. It fell on deaf ears. My father eventually, even in his current state, decided to come to Gettysburg with me. And I shared with him that I believe in God. But if God exists, and I know that God does, there is no doubt in my mind that God was in the middle of that field, because it's a turning point in our understanding of what we would become. God had to be present there. You can't always geopolitically locate God's presence. But what America became after Gettysburg, the role that she played in the world in fighting fascism and tyranny in Europe and feeding people around the world when America was having her better days, the role that America has played in diplomacy, in science, in technology, in even coming up with ideas of systems that do everything within their very limited power or limited understanding to eliminate poverty. America has always been the best chance that we've ever had to eradicate disease and to eradicate poverty from the earth. And I know that but for Gettysburg, we would not be the country that we are today. The turning point in human history and the 192 nations that decided to create a democracy modeled after the American Constitution is largely because of Gettysburg. On that field, if you can hear my voice, you owe yourself a pilgrimage to go to Gettysburg and feel the presence of the divine in that location. I do want to move at some point, and soon, to the deconstruction project that we are presently in, because it seems not only, Liz, to be an attack directly on history, but it seems to be, as you've already noted, an attack on the forward motion of the history, which is, from my perspective, natural to human development and evolution.
I think you're absolutely right. I think, this forward movement, and I'm sure that Barbara Arnwine has been sharing with your listeners, this election, we cannot let a day go by between now and election day in 2026, because we know that a huge priority is going to be restricting access to the ballot and restricting access to the franchise, because the only reason we have ever made progress, and I think you've named the critical role that Lincoln as an individual and the words that he spoke at Gettysburg and the work that began, the critical role that played. But that work only became real when people voted for policymakers to create the laws, to create the 14th Amendment, to create the Civil Rights Acts. And I think it's just going to be such an important time for us to remind everyone we know that we've got to get out, we've got to vote. Everyone has to vote in every election. The president will not be on the ballot, but the future of American democracy absolutely will. And they're going to make it harder to vote, and we're going to have to find ways to overcome those barriers to the ballot. And so I think so much of the future and progress is going to be the question of whether we vote, and whether our neighbors vote and whether we all come together and vote. And I think that question of the future is really absolutely where we need to turn our focus.
I couldn't agree more. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're lighting it up this evening with Liz King during drive time. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Tyrone Owens, and this is my home for 23 years that burned in the fire. Me and my wife, Charlene, we had this whole yard decorated every year.
This was the house that sparkled throughout the entire neighborhood on all the holidays. It's a community that will never be the same due to the negligence of a utility company. So I am pretty upset about that.
We were nowhere near being able to rebuild with our insurance. It's going to cost $1 million to put your house back up.
I want to get back to that point where we were before the fire. I'm starting to get emotional, but I'll work through it. LA Fire Justice has been wonderful for us. They're just caring people. We have all faith in them.
Big ups to LA Fire Justice, who's given us hope to rebuild 100%.
Advertisement. Douglas Foster, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen
It's
to me.
Tuesday in our first hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with our regular host every first and third Tenacious Tuesday. We'll have Liz King going into the new year, lighting it up. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much. Always great to be here.
Liz, I want to talk about the present deconstruction project because as I built at this house in my thinking, when I look at the founding of the Democratic Party in 1791-92, it really was a party, an agrarian party that sought to protect all of its local interests, including slavery, at the state level, states' rights. The Democratic Party at its inception was less government, less control, less regulation. We don't want you down here in our state telling us what to do with our Negroes. And then this Republican Party comes into existence in 1854, and there's obviously a major conflict that's developing because it comes into existence saying, you may protect your slaves in the southern states, but we're not going to let you carry slavery into the western states. And before Lincoln is even sworn in as president, a shot is fired at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. South Carolina secedes from the Union, followed by a series of states that essentially declare their independence and form a confederacy. But then it's really interesting. About 1935, 1936, the former Democrats begin moving to the Republican Party, but they move to the Republican Party as fiscal conservatives. They don't want the federal government coming into their states, telling them what to do in terms of workers' rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, civil rights. So you'll end up with George Wallace standing in the state, in the door of a school, with the president bringing the National Guard saying, you're going to let Black people in. You're going to have state troopers and National Guardsmen meeting John Lewis at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And it's the Democratic Party that's welcoming them to their state and using the National Guard for the purposes of enforcing their state's rights to treat their Negroes and their minorities the way they want to in their states. And then we see in the Democratic Party around 1935 a shift to Keynesian economic programs where under Roosevelt, healthcare for all and Social Security and Medicare and programs began coming into existence, and a gravitation of African Americans from the party of Lincoln to the Democratic Party, because now that this country is moving in the direction of building post-Civil War a more perfect union, our allegiance ends up in Washington, not at the gubernatorial level or the state level, but with presidents of the United States who are advancing at least a common vision for the United States. You shared with us earlier that when Lincoln delivered his first inaugural address, he had one vision of America that was its reality. Something else happened, Liz, in his second inaugural address.
Yeah, and I think, what we see in Lincoln's second inaugural is the reference to the United States as a singular, right? So the first inaugural, it is these United States in the plural, this collection of individual states. And in the second inaugural, we see a reference to the United States as one nation, and this question of unity and togetherness and what it means for us all to be one nation together. And that, when you talk about the destruction project right now, that is what they seek to destroy. They seek to destroy unity, one nation. When Nancy Pelosi oversaw the construction of the Capitol Visitor Center, which is amazing and everyone should go check it out, in the basement of the Capitol building, the emphasis and what you see everywhere, it's on the mugs and the shirts and everywhere on the wall, is E pluribus unum. It is this motto. It is this message of unity. It is this embracing of diversity, out of many, one. And that this anti-DEI agenda, this attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, this attack on the federal government, all of these attacks are about undermining E pluribus unum. It is a destruction agenda. It is about unmaking the United States. It is about undoing the work of the Gettysburg Address. It is about undoing the work of Reconstruction. And I think, we have to become nation builders. That's what we do now, right? And when King was asked about integrating into a burning house, a reasonable question, right? The United States is on fire. Why would we integrate into a burning house? What are we going to do? And King says, we all have to become firefighters. And it is now time for all of us to become nation builders. And that means being a nation builder means being a voter. It means somebody who brings 5 friends with them to the polls. It means calling the Capitol switchboard. It means showing up at No King's protests. It means speaking out in local government. And I think this question of what does it mean to be a nation builder and how can all of us play a role in nation building? Some people now are doing the physical work of rebuilding. We know that for people in Los Angeles, there is so much physical rebuilding, for example, to be done, and the physical rebuilding of communities. And we also need to be at the same time nation builders who contribute to this project of America, who resist the destruction agenda and work towards a proactive building an agenda, a future agenda, and all of us together agenda, an e pluribus unum agenda, a July 4th agenda. And so I think you have sort of laid out so well this question of what does July 4th mean? And, you know, Frederick Douglass says, what does July 4th mean? I keep thinking about Langston Hughes and his poem, I Too, and the critical role. I would like us to get to a place where we view that Langston Hughes poem, you know, America never was America to me, but America will be. That needs to live next to the Declaration of Independence. That's who we deserve to become. That is the America that we all deserve. And I think, you know, there's just so much here to think about going into a new year, going into this 250th anniversary of that one founding document, thinking about all the 250th anniversaries to come of the Constitution, of the Civil War, of the Reconstruction, and the 14th Amendment. What does it mean for us all to be nation builders? And I think that is the question for 2026, is how can I be a nation builder? What is my role as a nation builder? What should the future of our nation look like? And I think, you know, we're coming to the end of one really brutal year and looking forward to a brighter future. And I think those of us, you know, I think of it, Gwendolyn Brooks, right? A wonderful Chicagoan, Gwendolyn Brooks, speech to the Progress Toward, right? It cannot always be night. And, you know, joy cometh in the morning. What does the future look like, and how do all of us work together to build the future we all deserve?
We're going to we're going to be defining over the next year the true meaning of the Declaration of Independence. I don't know how anyone's going to be able to escape that, and I feel like the luckiest co-host in the world to have Liz King to critique on a weekly basis, a bi-monthly basis, the issues that force this particular reflection of what we are becoming, what we have been, and what we are as a nation, and the role each of us has and plays and shall play in whether or not the Constitution itself endures. In this hour, Liz, I'm a little pessimistic, a lot more pessimistic than I've ever been. It feels that the debate that we're going to have and discussions that we will have around the Declaration of Independence will certainly show a resilience in our desire to expand beyond just men. But I'm not so sure that with the court in play and what we've seen with the executive and the cowardice, if you will, of the Congress of the United States, that it is not the Constitution is far weaker than the people's resolve on the questions that we hold dear. Liz, a final minute and a half for a word of hope.
Now is a time for nation building. Now is a time for nation building, and every one of us, every child, every person in every neighborhood, no matter how much power you have, you can be a nation builder. And that is what this country has always been and will always be. This is a challenging time. This is some of the hardest times we've ever seen as a nation. But together we will build the nation we all deserve. Together we will build the nation that Lincoln aspired to in that Gettysburg Address. We will create the 1776, the July 4th that we deserved then, that we deserve now, and that our children and our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren deserve into the future.
Happy New Year, Liz King.
Happy New Year, Congressman. It's always wonderful to be with you.
I am so glad that you're here and a participant in our show. Your mind is so important, and your thinking at this hour in our nation's history, and I'm grateful that you are lending it to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We have a lot more coming with Barbara Arnwine in the next hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is our final show on the J Lunch Club 2025. We'll be playing some of our past shows over the course of the remainder of the week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Pro boxer Anthony Joshua is recovering following a car crash that killed two friends and teammates in Nigeria. The Nigerian-British man was believed to be in the back of a vehicle when the crash occurred. Local authorities say the former heavyweight champion suffered minor injuries and was taken to an undisclosed hospital for medical attention. With more rain in the forecast, there's more concern about unstable hillslides in Los Angeles. David Torje with Alpha Structural tells KTLA that many people might be on vacation when their homes get flooded.
So we see a huge surge in calls after the holidays have ended and people have returned home, usually to find, pretty grim results.
Janae Aiko, Ludacris, Nelly, and Ashanti are set to headline Jazz in the Gardens next year. The music festival is happening in Miami next March. Get BIN News now on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
In Eagle Rock on the 134 East, right before you get to the 2, I've got a report of some debris in the 3 left lanes. On the 5 South at Glendale Boulevard, trying to clear a stalled van from the middle lane there. It's going to be backed up to the 134. Also on the 134 East at Figueroa Street, they're getting a stall cleared over to the right shoulder. And in Anaheim Hills, 91 westbound at Imperial, that crash is cleared. Still pretty slow there.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Back-to-back losses have put the Rams in a tough position for the NFC playoffs. The Rams failed to land the number 1 seed in the NFC and will not have a home playoff game. If Seattle beats San Francisco Saturday to claim the number 1 seed, the Rams will be the 5th seed and will play a wildcard game at Carolina or Tampa Bay, whoever wins the NFC South. If San Francisco beats Seattle, the Rams fall to the number 6 seed, which would send them to Chicago or Philadelphia. Either scenario does not look good for the Rams. They need to put together a strong performance Sunday against Arizona in their final regular season game to tune up for the playoffs. It's going to be a bumpy ride in the postseason. Happy birthday to Tiger Woods. The 15-time major champion turned 50 today. Tiger is eligible for the PGA Senior Tour if he chooses to go that route. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580. That's right. Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's the J Lunch Club. Here we are about to have lunch with Barbara Arnwine and Ted Williams. And I think Peel De Silva has stepped into the studio. Attorney Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, is internationally renowned for her contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Currently, she also serves as co-chair and facilitator of the National Commission for Voter Justice, the Millennial Votes Matters convenings, and the Voting Rights Alliance. She was the head of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights from 1989 until June of 2015, and she now holds the honorific title of President Emeritus. Barbara Arnwine, welcome forward to your show.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and I love, the work we do at the Transformative Justice Coalition. So much going on right now.
So we're going to hear a lot of that in just a moment. I'm also honored, Barbara, that Dr. Ted Williams, an educator, actor, and author who teaches political science at the City Colleges of Chicago, graduated from the University of Chicago, Rutgers University, and Northern Seminary, is also joining us on our program today. Dr. Williams, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hello. Wonderful to be here with you guys. Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah as well.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that. Barbara, this is your show, and so I'm going to be following your lead. But I did want to share with you that we had a very, very interesting conversation in the first hour with Liz King, and we talked about the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and I'm also particularly honored that PL De Silva is also joining us. PL is a renowned scholar and also a major contributor in backroom diplomacy throughout the nation and on behalf of all of the American people. He operates in areas not only in terms of public discourse, but in the areas that we do not see. And he's not afraid to tell the truth about what's going on in our world. Dr. De Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Very good to be on the show, Jesse.
So, Barbara, I was saying, and I'm so glad you're here, and happy holidays, happy New Year's to everyone. Barbara, I was saying that the reflection on the 250 years since the Declaration of Independence, which will dominate the national conversation next year, and we'll be reflecting upon what the nation has become. We'll be reflecting upon its past, its present, and its future. The Transformative Justice Coalition, I don't know an organization that does more work in the present in terms of fulfilling the aspirational goals of the Declaration of Independence. Since you've been on our show, you've been to the Supreme Court, you've been traveling the states, you've been registering voters. Barbara.
Turn them out to vote.
Barbara, what is the current state in your mind of the Declaration of Independence?
We're still stuck in its contradictions. I mean, you have a declaration that talks about, in the course of human events, we find that, all people are created equal, and it wasn't true then, isn't true, it isn't true now as to how government honors that promise. At that time that was instituted, there were most of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence were slaveholders. And so we have to, be honest about how stuck we are. They signed it knowing that at the time they were oppressing and murdering and slaughtering Native Americans. I mean, we have to be honest about our origins, because you can't escape the gravitational pull of the past unless you have the velocity of truth and honesty and vision for the future. And so what we have right now is we're going to be hearing a whole lot of, the founding fathers are going to be, quote, lifted up like gods and icons. And we're going to hear a lot of other things, but we got to be honest that they were humans. They were capable of self-interest. They were capable of greed. They were capable of theft. And we just have to be honest about it. And that even though their aspirations were highfalutin, their realities were not. And it is that contradiction that keeps us in the, I would say, in the white supremacist, grasp that we remain in. And our need is that, the people of this country won't differ. And our need is to be able to unite and to make that difference happen, and to take that Constitution and its vision, broaden it some now, and make the vision much more achievable.
PL, just before we come forward, we have about 2 minutes. I'm thinking of the conversation that I had with you and Dr. Crom on our last show, when I quoted specifically Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who said today, if she were recommending to a new country whether or not to copy the Constitution of the United States, she said she couldn't do it in good conscience. PL, what's happening in the world with respect to democracy?
We are in a very bad place, and the mask has slipped as far as the United States is concerned, and we are seeing naked imperialism being demonstrated by President Trump and all his enablers. And we should not forget the Heritage Foundation in this, and all the thousands of people that they employed to support the Trump administration. Thankfully, there seems to be fractures, and the Heritage Foundations, there seems to be a split, and part of them are going off with former Vice President Pence. And the MAGA movement is also fracturing. So these are the things that are enabling and supporting President Trump in all the terrible things that he's doing worldwide. And unless you're a strong country like China, weak countries get trampled on, like what Derek Chauvin did by standing on the neck of that poor man who said, "I cannot breathe."
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're going to try and get unstuck with Ted Williams when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 in just a moment.
Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code STATE.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the J Lunch Club. It's Tenacious Tuesdays with Barbara Arnwine, the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Barbara Arnwine shows us the work that we have to do in the present, domestically, and around the world. PL Da Silva takes us around the world as a contributor on our program to show us from the outside how people see us, and from the inside some of the things that we're doing that contribute to the way in which they view us. And none other than Dr. Ted Williams. Dr. Williams gives us the inspiration to keep the fight moving forward. So grateful that our three contributing partners are here with us on the Barbara Arnwine Show. Can I get Ted in this conversation by asking him to help unpack this point that Barbara made about being stuck? We are stuck since the Declaration of Independence, Dr. Williams.
Let's get unstuck, shall we, brothers and sisters? Before we go into 2026, we got to go in 2026 unstuck. And this is a great moment for us to reflect and think about at this 250-year juncture, if you will, of this nation. What does it mean, this declaration? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What does that look like going forward? See, America, we are a young nation with a short memory. And we like to look at the future and forget about the past. But I think this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us to do some self-reflection. You know, at the end of every year, we stop and we go, hey, I didn't do this well. I want to have a New Year's resolution. Maybe we need some next 250-year resolutions for this country so that we can actually move into this new time and space with allowing us to really live out the principles of this declaration, that all men are what? Created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. I'm a firm believer, as you are, Brother Jackson here, that this is a theological quest that we are on. It is connected very clearly to the idea and the identity of a Creator. And because that Creator has given us these rights, the government ought to protect these rights. The government is instituted among men to secure these rights according to the Declaration. And so we have to decide that we're going to go forward differently. We have to look at the past and say we have not fulfilled this for many, many Americans, millions of Americans. We have never fulfilled this goal and this promise, and yet we can go forward better and stronger. And if we deal with history in an honest way in this country, then we can move forward. But if we decide to do what many Americans want to do, which is ignore our history and ignore the failings of this country in that way, I don't think we'll ever be able to be what America could be, let alone we talk about being great again. We'll never be great in the first place if we don't fulfill the promises of the Declaration to all people. And so I'm excited about being a part of that journey. And I hope that the folks at the table I know who are doing the work every day, we got to continue to press on, because we ultimately make this country work if we can make it work for all people.
Appreciate that, Dr. Williams. Barbara, I don't know anyone who's working harder than the Transformative Justice Coalition. You're expecting some major Supreme Court decisions in the near term that could alter the very structure of the vision of democracy that Dr. Williams just talked about, as well as Dr. Da Silva's understanding of what we were for a brief window in the 250-year history of the United States. Barbara Arnwine, the Voting Rights Act itself could reduce the number of African Americans in Congress by half, and it could also eliminate nearly 190 Black state representatives before 2028. Barbara Arnwine?
Yes. We have to be very clear that, I've always said that America, the United States of America, that is, has been torn between two, dynamics and two visions. One vision is of a white supremacist, male-dominated, patriarchal society based on capitalism and based on, whatever policies serve and benefit that class. I've also said the other counter vision has been one of a greater inclusive society that is equal for all people. You saw that because the Declaration said all men are created equal. It did not say all humans, did not say all people, it said all men. And it meant that, at that time. So all these originalists, all these quote, women sitting on the court and others talking about they originalists, Are you kidding me? I mean, you wouldn't be sitting there if you really believe that. So, Pam Bondi, all of them, the original vision did not include white women as equals. So I just want people to be very clear that, and it didn't include, as we saw in our original, fight for voting rights, didn't include the poor. The white poor and the white non-landed gentry. So, so it's important for us to know that because the second vision says, we got to have a broader society. We got to have everybody really be equal. We got to, give everybody their voting rights. You got to be representative, not just fake representative, which is what all this redistricting mess is about. It's, an attempt to skew who can vote for whom and to make sure the politicians pick their voters, not the voters pick the politicians. It's all backwards. And I understand that we're not in a quote democracy, that we're in a Republican democracy, but the basis of that is the concept of representation. And if you don't have real representation, then you don't have any form of democracy or a republic. What you see, and what I've always said is, and people didn't want to hear it, is that folks are happy with an oligarchy, a plutocracy. A whole lot of folks want a theocracy. That's white nationalists, Christian nationalists. And so we just got to be honest about the fact that what we want, this multiracial, democracy that's just and inclusive, is a vision that has to be fought for. It can't just be assumed. And a whole lot of people like to fake and lie about what our realities are, but it's critical to us to understand that we only get what we want by fighting for it, because every other force that's set up with power in this country is not in our favor.
PL, I do want
to. That's why the Constitution is the real document for me, because it says we the people, and that's where the real power lies.
PL, I do want you to respond to Barbara's thought, but in this moment, after having listened to her and Dr. Williams, I do want to say that if I were an immigrant, why would I want to come here in the first place?
That's a very, very good question. That's a very good question. And we can see this playing out in higher education, not just immigrants who are not coming through the Mexican border, but also our higher education has been torpedoed by the Trump administration. Foreign students who pay the most amount of money to give the profits that our higher education industry needs are not coming to the US anymore. They're going to Canada, they're going to Europe, they're going to England, anywhere but the US. So what does that tell us? It's a Trump negative effect.
And if I may be able to add to that, really this question really speaks to the heart of what this country is. I listen to a lot of people sort of bemoan this idea that America will no longer be what it used to be. It won't look the way it used to be, and it won't sound the way it used to sound, that sort of thing. And I'm always pressing against that vision to tell people that the evolution of America, by its very nature, is going to be multi-ethnic, multinational, multi-religious. What do you think these documents were intended to do? And by their very nature, they will lead us through this evolutionary process to become a place where there are people from all parts of the world there. That is the beauty of America. And I think that once again, this 250-year anniversary is a great time to stop and say, hey, wait a second. You all who are afraid of this, you all who are anti-immigration, you all are anti-American. Right. And if we're going to go forward in America, in the true vision of America, that is exactly what we must do.
I agree. Let me just, Barbara, let me take this little moment to ask you, how can we support the work of the Transformative Justice Coalition?
You can go today, as soon as you can, to TJ Coalition, tjcoalition.org. We are a fighting organization, folks. We're lean, mean, and we are one fighting machine. And we are committed to making sure that the true vision of this country needs to be achieved.
Barbara, just before you get to that point, and you're on this side of the tax season, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And people, you want to donate now so that you can claim it for your 2025 taxes. And so you want to donate right this minute, tjcoalition.org. You got until midnight tomorrow, right? To midnight on the 31st to get this done. So we are really begging people to give. If give to all these organizations that you've been cheering on, that have put people in the streets, that are out there doing this work. Give to the groups that have been fighting in the courts and making sure things are happening. Give to the groups that are organizing voters who people are trying to suppress, trying to drive away from the polling booths. Give to those kinds of organizations. Give to tjcoalition.org, Transformative Justice Coalition. We do the work. That's the one thing nobody can deny. They might hate us, but they hate us because we do the work. And that's the truth of the matter. And can I say one thing? When I was talking bad about the Declaration of Independence, I had to remind myself that Frederick Douglass had a radical vision of that Declaration of Independence. And his radical vision drove the best aspects of that Declaration of Independence. And he literally argued it, over and over and over, to get people to understand what the promise of this nation could be and where its failures were.
I am struck, PL, by the idea that so many immigrants come to the United States with a certain expectation that somehow, what we say, Dr. Williams, in the African-American community, that somehow to be white is to have colder ice, that something about coming to America changes and forces us to diverse ourselves from our true nature, our true ethnicity, our true cultures. But my dad referred to this as kind of more like vegetable soup. Where every vegetable has its own unique ingredient, but we contribute to a common broth that makes sense. PL, is the idea of a multiracial democracy also on the retreat in this era?
No, you simply can't chase all the immigrants out of this country. It's an impossibility. It's a pipe dream that has been smoked on some couch in the White House.
Without Melania, right? There would be no Melania. Come on now. No J.D. Vance's wife also. Come on now.
It's impossible. It's just PR. It's the thing that they're spinning to try to hold on to power. That's all about it. Getting us to hate other people. That's what they're doing. They're scapegoating people.
If I may add to that as well, as we were jokingly saying, hey, there are certain kind of immigrants here that they're totally fine with. I think this larger question is a lot more sort of pernicious, this idea that, and this has been consistent in American history, we want certain kinds of immigrants to come. It's been in the federal code for many, many years, and others are not of value. We have to push back against that. As Brother Jackson just said, we believe in the value of certain people's communities, certain people's ethnicity more than others. And we've got to push back against anti-Blackness, anti-brown conversation in this country and let people know that these people who are Somalians, who are in Minnesota, have just as much value as the Afrikaners that we have coming here. And we have to make sure that that is very clear going forward.
I don't think it gets any clearer than that. Barbara, I'm sorry, we have about 15 seconds. Go ahead.
Hey, and Ted, you notice they're not talking about who they're going to get rid of for losing all those billions of dollars of war heads. They're not talking about who they're going to get rid of for all these other, crimes that are way above anything they're talking about happened with Somalians in Minnesota. The reality is that we definitely are anti-Black as a country right now. There's a lot of anti-Blackness being fed, and we got to fight it. And I'm just, really delighted that so many people are out here trying to create something different and better.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesdays. We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. Our special guests are Dr. Ted Williams and Dr. P.L. De Silva. More when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Happy New Year, everybody.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The city of Chicago has released its New Year's Eve safety plan as large crowds are expected downtown for a riverfront event hosted by Chance the Rapper for Dick Clark's New Year's Rocket Eve.
We're going to make sure that we have sufficient manpower. We've already made provisions for that.
Black Police Superintendent Larry Snelling says officers will be highly visible and strictly enforce the 10 p.m. curfew for minors. A New Jersey judge has ruled that 2 Clark Police Department officers caught using racial slurs can be fired. The judge rejected claims that delays in the investigation should block discipline. Police Chief Pedro Matos and Sergeant Joseph Teston were secretly recorded using slurs and collected 6-figure pay while suspended. And Black Grammy-nominated gospel legend Richard Smallwood has died at the age of 77. Variety reports Smallwood died from complications related to kidney failure in Maryland. He was celebrated as a legend whose influence shaped modern gospel music. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In La Cañada, Flintridge on the 210 eastbound before you get to Gould Avenue. We've got that accident blocking the 2 right lanes. It's going to be stopped from Angeles Crest Highway. In Silver Lake on the 5 south end of Glendale Boulevard, got a stall. It's blocking the 2 right lanes. It's going to be heavy from the 134. And in Westchester on the 405 and northbound before you get to La Tijera Boulevard, a new accident blocking the carpool and left lane there.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Back-to-back losses have put the Rams in a tough position for the NFC playoffs. The Rams failed to land the number 1 seed in the NFC and will not have a home playoff game. If Seattle beats San Francisco Saturday to claim the number 1 seed, the Rams will be the 5th seed and will play a wildcard game at Carolina or Tampa Bay, whoever wins the NFC South. If San Francisco beats Seattle, the Rams fall to the number 6 seed, which will send them to Chicago or Philadelphia. Either scenario does not look good for the Rams. They need to put together a strong performance Sunday against Arizona in their final regular season game to tune up for the playoffs. It's going to be a bumpy ride in the postseason. Happy birthday to Tiger Woods. The 15-time major champion turned 50 today. Tiger is eligible for the PGA Senior Tour if he chooses to go that route. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your face. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach: transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal: prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me.
Jesse Jackson, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is our final show and our final two segments of 2025, and I'm so grateful that we are in Tenacious Tuesdays with our most tenacious host, Barbara Arnwine. Barbara Arnwine is always on the grind. She is an attorney. She is the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and she might be one of the most active civil rights leaders in the nation today. Barbara, welcome forward to the show. I think Barbara's muted. I'm sure, Barbara.
It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks for all that you do. At least you haven't done the countdown, so you're in my good graces today.
No countdown today. We'll have one, though, on December 31st. And I want to thank well, Barbara, Gina said you should not have a mind.
Free Barbara. Thank you. Uh-oh, now you're muted.
And our very special guests in this hour are Dr. Ted Williams and Dr. P.L. Da Silva. Barbara, I know that we're grinding today, but I do want to ask Ted a question. Ted, when an immigrant comes to the United States and reads the Constitution of the United States, they see a linear document, they see a static document, they see words on paper. But the Constitution behind each of these amendments, there is a history that is as profound as the nation itself, that each of these rights has been earned. And there is a struggle associated with each of these rights. And for African Americans, and really for all of the American people who believe in universal health care, or the right to decent, safe, and affordable housing, or the right to a clean, safe, and sustainable environment, or the right to a public education of equal high quality, the turning point of the Constitution is really the 10th Amendment, where the Jeffersonians and the states' rights activists to protect their property all said that if it's not written specifically in the Constitution of the United States, it's a state right. It's local control. And I think that democracies around the world that modeled themselves after the U.S. Constitution, they see the Constitution, maybe it's one man, one woman having the right to vote, but they don't see when they read our Constitution that these are not inherited rights. These are earned rights. And therefore, the turning point becomes the human right not to be in slavery, the human right to have equal protection, and the human right, initially for Black men, but ultimately women with the 19th Amendment. Behind these rights, Dr. Williams, is history.
Yeah, and you bring up the 10th Amendment, and I was listening to a news broadcast just the other day around how there will be a number of states that will be moving for the first time to have a $15 an hour minimum wage. And the federal minimum wage is still $7 an hour. And I was thinking a lot about why is it that we are in a situation where the federal government is behind the states on this basic human right, this basic idea that people would go to work and they would get wages. Obviously, the federal minimum wage is a floor, but the reality is these states have the power to either, to go beyond. And so in my mind, as you, brother, have talked about so much, this idea that we ought to have these amendments, we ought to have these federal guarantees of living wages, living housing, adequate housing. We ought to have federal guarantees that make sure that across the board, not state to state, but across the board, that we have this notion of justice and equality for all people. And I think when people come to this country and they don't sort of understand kind of how this history has worked, how, number one, the 10th Amendment, obviously, is very important in this conversation, but the 19th Amendment, women's rights, and the 13th, 14th, the 15th Amendment that gave African-American many of the rights that we have today. When people don't have an understanding of that, they don't understand that we got to continue to fight and that they're still a part of this struggle. And that if we just come into the country and we just sort of enjoy these rights without having respect and paying homage to those who fought for those rights, we'll be in jeopardy of losing those. And I think, once again, if they understand that we are not at the end of the chapter or the end of the book when it comes to the American experiment, we might not even be a third of the way through, a quarter, a tenth of the way through, that there's so much that we have to still fight for. And I think, once again, as I was thinking about this relationship between the federal government and state governments, I was thinking about how much more we have to press our federal government to take the lead so that the states are not able to just give us a different way of life and quality of life, depending on what kind of local leadership that they have.
PL, last week, Dr. Karam spoke very clearly on how democracy is fledgling, if you will, around the world, in large measure because democracy came to them top down and not bottom up. And therefore, the rights themselves are not completely appreciated by the, if you will, the landed gentry or by the elites within these societies who take advantage of the system, whether it's democratic representation or not. They're always in power. And therefore, the bottom, if you will, or people who are struggling, the poorest of the poor, are not really part of the process. And that, too, is contributing to the decline of democracy.
We need to organize. That's the only way. It's like the civil rights movement. We, the majority of the people at the bottom, we need to get together, get out the vote, register to vote, vote out this Republican administration and the atrocious Trump and all his acolytes out of office, holding office, whether it's on Capitol Hill, but also the smaller elections are important, whether they're judges or municipal elections. All those things are important, and that's where we need to start, because that's where they started. If you looked at Reagan, if you looked at Nixon, Reagan, Bush, and Trump, they've been destroying our democracy. And immigration has been a supplant to slavery, right? If you look at how immigrants who come from Central and South America, how they work, they're the people who actually do work in this country. The hard work, the construction work, all of these kinds of things. It's value creation, and these are people who replaced the slaves who were brought from Africa. And we should not forget to pay homage to the migrants who are working, whether they're legal, illegal, it doesn't matter. These people are human beings, and they work tremendously hard, and they are part of the working class. And the working class needs to unite. We need to unionize. We need to fight the fat cats. We need to fight the billionaires. We really do, if we are to save this country.
Barbara, I'm going to talk about this when we come forward on the program, because in a real sense, the experiment is still flawed. And I've shared on your program, Barbara, On the Grind, that when you think about 44 million Americans who work 1, 2, or maybe even 3 jobs, they still need affordable care. And the role of the federal government to make sure they have some form of health care. In a few short days, just a couple of days, many of them are going to see skyrocketing premiums. And that's a flaw in the American experiment. Anytime the right to a gun is considered a constitutional human right, but the right to health care of equal high quality for all Americans is not considered a human right, is outside the grace of the dignity of our country. Anytime we need a supplemental nutrition and assistance program for people who work and who go to school hungry, that suggests a significant problem with the system that we're living in. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. Our final segment of the year is coming up when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-237-8585. That's 800-237-8585. Again, that's 800-237-8585.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. You're on the grind on the J Lunch program, J Lunch Club on KBLA Talk 1580 with Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the show. And our very special guests, Ted Williams and PL De Silva, are also joining us in the final live segment of the year. Gentlemen, welcome forward to On the Grind with Barbara Arnwine. All y'all muted. I can't believe it.
Thank you. There we go. All right.
Thank you very much.
Everybody's muted together. Barbara, kind of a countdown. Barbara, what can we expect in the new year coming forward?
A whole lot. I mean, we got the Calais case coming, which will be a direct attack on African American and Latino political power and Native American political power. We're going to have to really get ready, folks. I mean, this is going to be a battle that's going to dominate the political and legal landscape for years. The court's going to do some evil stuff, and we're going to have to really fight, because the whole purpose of what they're going to do is to disenfranchise and weaken political power for people of color, because we are seen as the visionaries and the people who believe in a whole different kind of America. You know, I just want to establish that one of my favorite courses that I've ever taught was I did a comparative constitutional analysis of the Brazilian Constitution. I started with the Haitian Constitution of 1800 and 1801, then the Brazilian Constitution, the South African Constitution, the Indian Constitution, the Constitution of India, that is, and the Constitution of the United States, and did a comparative study about how they all function and how they operate, how they center federal and local state governments, decentralized or centralized, looked at the role of race and how they dealt with racial injustice issues across all of those multiple constitutions. And it is very important to people. You know, we're so convinced of that whole American exceptionalism that we have no clue about where we really stand relative to the rest of the globe. And I would really urge people that if you got some extra time on your hands, read some of those constitutions and look at what are rights that are enumerated, rights that we don't have under the U.S. Constitution. The beauty of some of these constitutions, like the Brazilian one, had to be rewritten after they came out of the military coup. So it's more younger. But also they created, because of their experience of having been ruled by fascists, they created a much more, palatable way of amending and interpreting their constitution and protecting their justices. The South African Constitution was built understanding of the weaknesses of the U.S. Constitution and all of its failures and all of its probabilities. Indian Constitution, they looked at all of these and in building that one. So there's so much to learn, and nobody has a perfect constitution in my view, but still, I just wanted to emphasize that there's a lot that we can learn from others. And I wanted to say two other things, definitely. Shout out to the family and condolences to the family of Richard Smallwood. What a loss. What a loss. What a spiritual contributor he has been to so many of us. So it's a great loss. And I wanted to hit on that point. One of the most popular articles out right now is an article of an African brother who's visiting his cousin in I believe Atlanta, Georgia. And he talks about how he couldn't wait to go back home because his home back home was bigger. His home, it was cleaner. People were friendlier, all these things. But you know what his number one thing was? I couldn't believe how hard Americans had to work and how the work-life balance is so totally non-existent. compared to, in his opinion, compared to the life he lived. And he was like, never would I want to live here. Never.
Barbara, can I, and for our three guests, PL, let me allow you to have a minute and 30 seconds for your word of hope going into the new year. Then I'm going to go to Ted, and then we'll all yield the final minute and a half to Attorney Arnwine for her word of hope going into the new year. PL De Silva.
I am hopeful that we, the people, will organize, will register to vote, and in the midterm elections, we will show who is boss. We will show who is boss. And that is what I'm hopeful for. So all these terrible fascists and their pipe dreams, we are going to show them. We are going to show them who is boss. We, the people. Power to the people.
I appreciate that, PL. Yeah, power to the people. How about that?
Amen.
Dr. Williams.
I must say that I am concerned about our country going forward. I will end with a word of hope, but I must say that when I think about where we are, I worry if we've not learned the lessons from the past. I think about what Dr. King talked about with the triplets of militarism, racism, and materialism. And I am very concerned that we have not moved beyond that. In certain ways, under this leadership, we are moving in the wrong direction with respect to this. However, the beauty of a democracy is that people don't get to be in office forever. The beauty of a democracy is that every 2 years and every 4 years, we come back to the people and say, is this the direction that you want to go in? The beauty of a democracy is that the people's moral compass, their spiritual life can be reflected in the public policies of the nation. And so my hope right now is that we will take this moment. We will reverse course. We will learn the lessons of the past. We will understand this militarism, racism, and materialism will ultimately destroy this country, destroy it. And we will not have another 250 years if we don't get this. My brother, am so encouraged by the people we have in this room to believe that we have folks who get it, who are organizing, who are strategizing, who are educating, and we are going to ultimately, I think, and I don't mean to speak, in a ridiculous way and overinflate our importance, but I think that people like this are going to save this country. And brothers and sisters, I am with you all. Let us do it, and let us remind this country of what will ultimately make it great, not going back to some nostalgia for people who want to make it great again.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Our final word of hope and our final live show in the new year, in this year, 2025, and can't wait to bring all of us forward into the new year. Barbara Arnwine.
People of the Los Angeles, people of this world, this has been a tough year, right? We've seen so many hardships, so many struggles. And I just want to remind us that in the midst of any ugly struggle, where you're dealing with an administration that is, I want to say, that is based on a white eugenicist ideology, not just supremacist, but eugenicist ideology, that we need to understand how critical it is for us to do everything in our power to advance. The ugliness is always confronted with beauty, and the beauty has been the people. Thank you to every single human being who got out there and fought this year, who walked, who marched, who protested, who held up signs, who said, I stop it.
Amen, sister.
Who protected their neighbors, who did all, who fed the hungry, who lost their jobs under this evil Doge scheme and all the rest of it. I just want to say thank you, people. Thank you for being what we should be as a nation. Thank you for modeling it in your daily life, because that's what will carry us forward. Because the whole momentum in this time has to be to move forward, to overcome. We will get the justice we deserve. We will get the victory we deserve, because all of you will not turn your back on the fight that must happen. Thank you so much. Love you, everybody. And love my Los Angeles, Angelinos. You know, you come through that fire, right? You literally came through the fire.
We do want to thank.
Thank you.
We do want to thank Tavis Smiley. We want to thank Andy. We want to thank Taz. Thank you all. Happy New Year to you and your families. And thank you for being part of our show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.